a lot of times cinema has talked in terms of dreams or hallucinogenic or transcendent, but on the other side of the coin, cinema can also very much be entering a nightmare world, and I believe Headless is a well-crafted and highly under your skin look at the dark side of humanity, and is very much a cinematic nightmare. And I want to talk, I would like to ask you guys, obviously Found, if you could talk about Found and where Headless began and where you took it.
First off, before you say that, I just want to say that's some of the sweetest things anyone has ever said. Ever.
Arthur's all into the dreams and the hallucinatory stuff. And I'm not. So, I don't know. Todd had a chapter in the book Found called Headless. Headless came straight out of the book. And it was a movie within a movie, and we shot the 10-minute portion of Headless that is in Found before we shot the rest of Found. And it was fun. It was like its own weird little thing. And we were all kind of in our element, and we really enjoyed it. And then we had to make the rest of the movie, which was harder, working with kids and people we didn't know that well. But we never really wanted to make Headless into a movie because it's not our kind of movie. It was just pure torture. There was no story, and there was no character development, and there was really no compelling reason to do it, because there's plenty of torture porn out there and we don't like it. So people kept asking about it, and they could have just been facetious, and maybe they were. Maybe they didn't really want Headless and we gave it to them anyway, but I think some of them really did want Headless. They really did. And so we were like, well, if we're going to do it, how do we do it so that we like it? And so Arthur and all three of us, as well as our partners in crime, Shane Beasley, Nathan Erdell, and Kara Erdell, put our heads together, and it's like, well, let's see this, let's see that, let's do this with it. It was kind of like the whole... I remember hearing George Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan and Steven Spielberg kind of just sat around a table. It's like, what do we want to put in Raiders of the Lost Ark? And they just kind of mixed it all up, and Lawrence Kasdan shat out a script. Well, in this instance, Nathan Erdell shat out a Headless script for us. And somehow it accommodated all the weird, disparate things that we wanted to see, and was a little bit more than torture porn. So we kind of thought it was worth doing at that point. And I didn't want to do it because I didn't think I was qualified. I thought it would be effects heavy, and it would make more sense if someone who loved effects and knew how to do them did it. And also Arthur was bringing the dream hallucinogen thing. It's a totally different movie than Found. So I worry about people who think it might be a sequel, because it's a totally different animal. And if you don't like it, it's because he did it.
I did it. Oh, we all did it, so I don't, none of this passing the buck on the... We were all a little concerned, too, because we still are. But it's really pretty wild how positive the response has been. Because we did want to make something that was shocking and over the top.
So I think that the major difference between Found, or Headless in Found, and Headless in Headless is, and I think a big part of the reason why we decided that it was something we could do was that when we were shooting Found, Headless was sort of the best part of shooting Found. I mean, because it was the easiest for us. There weren't kids. It all went really fast. I mean, it was like a 2 or 3 day shoot. We were in our element. And it was all natural lighting, and we generally go handheld, so it's pretty, it moves pretty quick because of that, especially because we were using all natural lighting.
And crazy actors. We didn't know what Shane was going to do. I mean,
well, and that's part of the charm of having Shane act, is that he is great with body movement. He is great with, he doesn't really need to be directed a lot, which is really handy because, and Angela Denton, who was in the Headless that's in Found, also did an amazing, amazing job doing that. And they both just kind of let it all go. And that was part of what made it easy and fun. And Headless proper, I guess, the feature that we just finished is a lot different. We shot it also very quickly, but it was because it was a feature in itself, it took a lot longer than the short that we did for Found. And I think that shooting itself also took longer because we weren't all shooting it with natural light. It was very planned, and we, very carefully planned, I guess. And we really wanted to bring more color into it and make it sort of claustrophobic in a way that Headless and Found was not, because of its, because of the scope of the backdrop.
Film Headless is definitely a showcase for special effects. Could you talk about creating these special effects?
On Headless, we decided to do some things that we had learned before. We really pulled out every trick in the book that we had at our disposal. We used a lot of materials that we had used before but weren't necessarily very comfortable with because they're expensive materials. But overall, one of the things that we really had to do was be constrained to the budget. And for that, there are things that maybe they would have done in 1978 that we have better materials for now, so we moved on to better materials. But cost-wise, this is within the budget of anything that's so. So we used silicone for some of the heads. We used latex as a skin on the bodies. All of the fleshy bodies, almost all of the fleshy bodies that you see in the body pit and throughout are Ellie Church's body. We took a full body cast of her, and then we just made body after body after in all sorts of manners. We put down like skin of latex, and then we would build up with like gelatin muscle behind it, and then fill it with foam. And sometimes that foam was like couch cushion pieces that we had stolen from the trash, and torn up. And other times, we had the budget for like some expanding foam and things. I mean, we did a lot.
Headless is definitely a horror film that's going to push many people's buttons. I've seen my share of horror films over the years, and I feel like these filmmakers they didn't push the envelope. They took the envelope, set it on fire, and threw it and let it go to wherever the hell it wanted to go. And I was wondering if you could speak about when you guys sat down, you put your heads together and said, we're going to write this script. You're definitely going for broke on this. And are you guys ever self-censoring? And is there anything that you held back?
Nathan wanted to kill a puppy, and we wouldn't let him. So the puppy got turned into a rabbit. And originally, the peeing scene where the sister pees on the killer, her brother, they were much younger, and we weren't comfortable with that. So yeah, we do self-censor ourselves, and we probably will with everything we do, but this was our time to push the envelope as far as we ever could, gratuitously, in the name of style and in the name of an exploitation films, because that's what it was. So there was no point in holding back a whole lot on a movie like Headless. There are a lot of other films we're making where this kind of stuff would be wildly inappropriate. So we're not looking to make movies only like Headless from here on out. Headless is, I think, an anomaly. Who knows for sure? We are talking about making more United Filmways Corporation type movies, so we might be making some more exploitation horror movies, but that's not far from the only thing that we want to do. But Headless was the time for that, and whenever we did talk about, well, should we do this? Should we do this? It's like, this is the only time that we should ever do this, and so we did it. We did. We stuck the penis in the throat, and you see it moving around inside, because that's what we thought our target audience wanted to see, and so far, I think we were right.
I mean, let's face it, the killer's MO is he fucks severed heads. So that's the basis of your story. So we figured, well, yeah. And in reference to the rabbit, it was always supposed to be a rabbit. But then Nathan's like, what if it was a puppy? And I'm like, oh, it could be a puppy. That'd be pretty good. And then no, people will hate us. Because it's just something there's certain lines that you don't want to cross. Mainly because as icky and dark as Headless is, there's still a level of fun to it. You know, it's again, we're trying to capture this sort of nostalgia that if you were you know, watching this at the time that it came out, it goes much further than any of those things did. But as an adult, you know, watching this, it has to go a little further to invoke that sense of, should I be watching this? This is really, you know, strange. So I think that we were happy to do that, and I do think that, you know, again, it was the time for it. We might pee on some more people. We might, you know, chop off some more things. But overall, I mean, but, you know, we do want to do a lot of things that are exploitative in a sense, or rather, sex as horror. Yeah. You know, that's
what we're going to run up against over and over again. Sexualized violence. Sexualized violence is what the censors fear most. And unfortunately, I think the recurring theme on everything we're talking about doing on our big table of projects, they bring sex and violence together. So we'll be confronting this issue over and over again, I think.
But it is something, but it is something that it's sort of a boundary or a taboo or a different frontier.
Oh, back to the pee, because this is hilarious. My favorite outtake, I think, from all the footage I saw was Jessica, who played the big sister. She was really great, but during the pee scene, we had apple juice in a like squeegee bottle thing, and we had her squeezing the pee into Keeley's face. Matt Keeley, who played the teenaged killer, I guess. And so you just see this, it's like a extreme close-up shot of the bottle and the pee in his face, right? Like kind of squeezing it on, right? And it just keeps going and going and going and going, and then it like runs out, and Jessica's like laughing, and she's like, "Do you want more pee?" And like she loses her shit. It's the funniest thing ever. Anyway, so penis. So anyway, penis. There's a lot of penis in this movie, and I think that a big reason why is because of Scott and Kara. Scott and Kara love penises, and they want them to be in every movie ever. Now, I am not a prude. I just want you to know that. But I was worried, on a personal level, I was worried about showing penetration in particular. Penises are fine. Penetration, is that a porno? Is it not a porno? Is it just exploitation? I don't know. So it's kind of towing the line, I guess. And, you know, I brought up my worries multiple times, and then I shut up about them because it's not my decision, and that's cool. And I think that's part of why we all get along, because we have mutual respect for each other in that way. But I don't regret it. I mean, I'm glad the movie is what it is. I think it's good. I'm proud of it, and I think that people are enjoying it. And I have to say that I was just so terrified of especially the Buskirk premiere, because that's the most mixed bag sort of audience that we probably will have, like, ever. I mean, maybe not, but I think a big part of the like what they were talking about making the film for our audience, I think this film in particular is the closest we'll get to making a film for an audience, a very specific audience of people who, you know, made it very clear that they wanted to see this film and they wanted it to be as nasty as possible. And that's something that we, you know, at first fought against, but then realized, well, I mean, it was fun to make the first time. Why not expand upon that and make it as fucked up and sick as we can make it, and while still being fun and fast paced and, you know, intellectually stimulating, or at least we like to hope it is.
Here we are. That's I don't like that one at all. I'm gonna just get to the fucking point on this. Hi, it's Robert Mitchell, and I'm here in my adopted town of Bloomington, Indiana.